Hey guys, Bridget here. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the top design tools that are available out there. Now, just to give you a brief background, I've been a UI UX designer for over a decade now. And also, before we get started, I want to remind you that I recently launched a free course on how to get started in UI UX design, where basically I'm sharing some of the things which I wanted to know when I first started out. And I'm also leaving the source files of the YouTube tutorials, such as the Figma and Sketch tutorials in the channel. So feel free to check it out if you're interested in that. But now let's start with the very first tool, which I personally recommend. I really love this tool. And I think it's a really great entry level as well as for more advanced users. And that is Figma. So the reason why I like Figma so much is that first of all, it's very easy to use, and secondarily, it's amazing for collaborations. So when it comes to collaborating with even large teams with Figma, it's really easy, simply because you're going to have a shareable file, which you can just share a link with any team member, and they can enter in real time and work on the file or observe it, and this applies for both the design file and also the prototypes. So it's a really great tool in my opinion, and it enables you to do pretty much anything that you want and that you can imagine when it comes to UI UX design projects, and even web design and even vector projects. I think has a lot of potential. It wasn't built for doing illustrations per se, but you can definitely do a lot in those regards too. So definitely check it out. It's free, so you cannot beat that. And yeah, let's move on to the very next design tool, which is a tool which is deep in my heart, because basically many years ago when I first started out in UI UX design, I always used to use Photoshop, and that was kind of the norm when it comes to web design and UI UX design. And then Sketch came out, and let me tell you, when it did, it completely created a revolution in the design industry, because a lot of the workflows and a lot of the processes were just so streamlined and became so much more effective and enjoyable to do with Sketch compared to Photoshop. Used to have like these light files, and it still has, of course, but overall just a great tool. I still use it, although in my day-to-day I tend to use Figma the most, but nonetheless Sketch is a really great tool, and in a lot of regards, it's also very similar to Figma. So in my personal opinion, if you learn one or the other, you want to switch at any given moment, it's not going to be a difficult transition at all. So definitely keep this in mind. Now, the very next tool which I want to talk about is Adobe XD. And Adobe XD, again, very similar in a lot of regards to Sketch and Figma. And overall, just a really nice tool. And of course, it's from Adobe, so it's a really big and established brand that pretty much everybody knows in the design industry, and in many regards also in graphic design, illustrations, and all those other fields. We all know the Adobe products. They're really established in the marketplace, and they're an authority. So with Adobe XD, also you're leveraging that big brand and solidity, and it works. And one of the most important things is that they really work well across apps. So if you're using a lot of Illustrator, Photoshop, those kind of apps, it's going to be an interesting choice for also that reason. Now, very next design tool which I want to talk about is Framer. And although I don't have a lot of experience with Framer, I did try it out. Really cool app. One of the biggest advantages about Framer is that you not only can design and prototype, but you have a lot of development tools and assets that you can build from Framer directly. So definitely an interesting choice, especially for developers out there, or someone who already has some development experience, since there's definitely a lot that you can create within this design tool. Now let's move on to the very last one, and that is InVision Studio. And I haven't tested out in a long time, but I still want to put it on the list since I heard it's still around and they're improving month by month. So definitely another tool which you should consider. And I wouldn't say it would be like my top 3 choices at the moment, simply because it's not as established in the industry as the other ones. But definitely a software to kind of have a look at and maybe consider, and keep an eye for the future, because you never know how things evolve. Sometimes some softwares take over in literally a span of months. So it's definitely one of those softwares that I'm keeping an eye on, although I'm not using it on day to day. One of the reasons is exactly this, the animation tools, and these are all built in. It's not even like plugins or anything. And some of these features looked pretty cool. And I think they're catching up on a lot of things, so definitely another software to keep in mind. So really hope this was helpful, and I want to remind you that on my channel I have over 500 videos sharing my experience as a UI UX designer. So you're going to have theory lessons, lessons on how to get clients, and even software tutorials. So feel free to check it out if you're interested in that topic, and I'll see you in the next video.